Oh yeah, oh yeah. Lightweight. What's up everybody? This is Ryan here and you are watching approximately episode like 8 or 9 of my live coding for Catalyst. Super great at the continuity there, but yeah, I can't remember exactly which episode it is, but it'll be in the description box anyway. We're going to be working on Catalyst again. This is live coding. And as usual, we have to talk about the stuff we talk about at the start of every live show, which is, so if you enjoy what I do and would like to see me do it better, then there's a couple different ways which you can support me and the WiseAss community as a whole. So for starters, we have a Facebook page, Google+, Twitter page, and of course the YouTubes. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a favor, consider hitting the subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and the like button if you learned something today. And if you would like to contribute a little bit more directly, then you can certainly do so through PayPal or Patreon, which brings me to Patreon gratitude. I would like to thank the following people for supporting me on Patreon. So we've got Ansh, A, Cameron, Graham, Hank Martin, Pijak, Shoku, Sushil, and Trevor. And also this month there was a donation from Andre, not sure how to pronounce your name, but something approximately to that effect. So to all those people, I say thank you very much. And then also we have a wonderful Slack channel, which I was actually addressing this morning. So just to give a glimpse into my current situation, and we will get to coding soon, just let me have my little ramble to warm my brain up. But so as some of you may know, I'm currently writing a book and working on a couple different application projects and still trying to do 2 live streams a week and release a couple videos a week if possible. So pretty much what that means is I just don't have a lot of time to contribute directly to helping people outside of these live streams. I try to make the live streams the 1 hour or so per week where if you really want to get my input on something, you can ask me. But quite fortunately, we have a wonderful Slack channel going on, link in the description box below if you'd like to join it. And basically how it works is, like I say, I was giving everybody a compliment today. Over the past couple months, I've been, of course, keeping track of the WiseAss Slack channel. And it's just been really amazing to watch the number of excellent developers we have in the channel, just actively sharing and helping, and we've got contributions from the beginners as well. So it's just as I don't think of myself as being any sort of figurehead regarding the Slack community. There's people who contribute a lot more to it, but what I really feel is, I guess to some degree, a facilitator of the channel, because it's kind of the WiseAss brand, which is originally my brand. It's just really amazing to be a part of and to watch that community continue to grow. Because the thing about it is, one of the things I kind of wanted to encourage in the software development community in general is just the attitude of, oh, that was a good voice crack, just the attitude of helping each other, just helping people and being interested in learning new things and talking about those new things. Like, that's actually essentially what I do in a nutshell with my YouTube things, is like, I'm a nerd, I like to help people. So I basically get to talk about things that I'm personally interested in, and sometimes that ends up being useful information for the viewers. So to see that reflected in a channel, which is a community which is growing, just really, I don't have words to really express my gratitude for that. And you know, I have never asked any one of the contributors on that channel to be there. They're all there because they want to help everybody. So, anyways, I'll shut up about that now, but it was just kind of a morning of reflection for me on that, and it's just really wonderful to see. And at some point, I promise everybody, there will come a time when WiseAss grows a lot more to be a lot more than what it is now. But at the end of the day, I still got a lot of work to do. before I can sort of start to reinvest in it. And you know, let's just try and keep things going as they are. Just keep sharing people. I'll keep doing these videos and giving everybody shout outs, which it isn't much consolation. And I am available on the Slack channel if you need me. It's just, to be perfectly honest, there's people on there that have more experience than I do. So the whole point of this little ramble is I'm just so proud to see that WiseS has grown to be a lot more than just Ryan talking about what he's learned lately. So yeah. It's a great honor. Thank you so much. And I see we have Al and Naline and Prashanth in the chat. So what's up? Good to see y'all. Okay, so let's get started here. Oh boy, we got 9 whole viewers today. That's a lot. I don't know how we're gonna do this. So let's get started here. What I would like to do today, and of course we're working from a to-do list, a very poor to-do list. So this is the big to-do for today, is to figure out how to write tests with coroutines and to write some tests for interactors. Should I figure out how to do that? I got started writing out the steps necessary to figure this out. But then I realized that the steps appear to actually be fairly simple, and I'm quite lazy, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get working. I do have a project which I will be referencing here. Let me just pull it up and I will share it with y'all. Let me just make sure it's open source before I share it, because I don't like to share code unless it's open source. Do you have a license, my friend? Huh. Okay. So, I'll share the project. So I don't intend to copy what they do exactly. I will do it differently. I'm not actually sure if this person wants it to be I'm not sure if it's open source, but whatever. I'll share the link in the description box, and I do want to give a shout out to this individual. I'll see if I can find your name. What is your name? Well, I only have a handle here from GitHub, but for Coley, what's your name here? Coley Bridev. Thank you for sharing this repository. This person also wrote a small article on writing unit tests for coroutines. So I'm going to be using part of their code as kind of a reference, but I noticed that this individual, well, I'm not going to go through their code again because I don't know what the license is, but they do things a little bit differently than I will do, so there shouldn't be any issues there. But yeah, anyways, so that's the main goal for figuring out our unit testing. So see, we got a couple more people, Philip and Denny. What up, bro? Oh yeah, good day, ain't it, mate? A couple people. That's like my pseudo South London accent. Okay, let's get started here. So we're working on Catalyst. So if you remember, I believe it was last episode, or maybe it was the one before, it was a very boring episode because all I really did is I just typed out a ton of test data. This data sits within the test folder in my domain module. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but just in here. And so this is actually like one of the first things I will do in a new project is once I figure out what the basic, where are they? The basic data models look like. So if I navigate to domain model here, you'll see I've got all these things. I've got exercise, exercise template, result, which is like a wrapper class, set, workout template. I just realized I need to be really aware of this wrapper class because we're probably going to be returning these instead of the actual data models, and I actually forgot about that. So that will make things a little more interesting, but it shouldn't be an issue per se. But yeah, let's get started. So I've got the test data here with the exception of the results. So I might need to add some. the purpose of this test data is basically like this. When you're building an application, especially like a multi-module application, one module should not have to talk to a real version of the other module until you pretty much decide to do instrumentation tests. And instrumentation tests, instrument is another, I don't know, they decided to use that word instead of device. I think instrument used to be the appropriate word back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but we call these things devices now. So when you want to run it on a device, you might want them all talking to each other, all the modules. But even then, you can actually deploy applications to your device and kind of play test them with fake classes. So there is a way to do that. But I don't typically, I usually like to really unit test my stuff thoroughly, and then, you know, that's kind of my main goal for testing. I do other things, but it depends more on the situation at hand. So one of the first things I like to do is I like to create test data, and this is the data which I will test against the classes that I want to test. So it's a great way to just kind of get started with testing, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, the main thing we're going to be focusing on, what is that? The main thing we're going to be focusing on with these tests is verifying state or behavior. So state basically is a euphemism, not euphemism, another word for like data, the state of the data at a given point in time. Whenever you hear the word state, what I would suggest is you consider it to be the state of the data at a given point in time, which can change. But that's kind of what state refers to collectively in my understanding. Anyways, let's get started writing some stuff here. So I'm going to add a class first off to this test package, and it's going to be, what do I want to test first? Maybe we'll do the, well, considering I don't have an exercise interactor, so let's do the workout interactor. So I'm going to create a test class in Kotlin, and it's going to be called workout interactor test. So just as we're going here, I'll reopen the chat, and just a quick reminder. So the way that this basically works, the live stream Q&A, is I don't make any effort to answer general questions. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that at the very end of the show. However, if you have questions about what I am doing right now, please do ask those questions, assuming they're short. The thing about it is, if you want like general Q&A, you need to watch the stream on Sundays, and then I will be happy to do that. But for today, if you have questions about TDD, questions about what I'm doing, Kotlin, that kind of stuff, fire away and I might answer you. But yep. Someone already asked, what is data injection? Prashanth. And Prashanth, I'm assuming you might actually mean dependency injection. And you should watch my live stream Q&A yesterday. Towards the end, I think I definitely explained what dependency injection was and what it's for, so you should go watch that. It's at the end of the previous live stream Q&A. So, class workout interactor test. Now, one of the things right off the bat is I'm not actually sure if, do these need to be in the body of a class? Because, okay, I guess it might be. I was just kind of thinking, like, Kotlin doesn't actually have super hard restrictions on having, I'm not saying it would be better, but I think you could actually just, no, we can't really do it, so I do need the whole class. I'm kind of thinking out loud. There's going to be a lot of thinking out loud in this episode, but what I was thinking is Kotlin allows for top-level functions, so you can actually just say, like, at test fun sum test type deal. But I'm not actually sure if you can do that in unit tests, and then I realized I need a setup method anyways, so that's not particularly useful. So what I'm going to do is I've created a test class, and Of course, when we're testing something, we want a real version of the class that we're testing. So it's going to be val, we'll call it w source for workout source. It's going to be of type workout interactor. And we'll worry about creating it in a moment. And I had to write a little bit of Java earlier last week, so you'll notice that I'm probably accidentally adding commas by habit again, as usual. And then we have, let's just actually call that interactor. I'm a stickler about names. And then we need to look at what this class uses. That's not supposed to be test, that's supposed to be workout interactor. There we go. Yes. Okay. So we pull up in Workout Interactor, and the first thing I want to know is what classes does it work with? So evidently it works with a workout repository here. Now we're actually going to need to do something, presumably. This is where things are going to get interesting, because just so everyone's aware, this is an episode where I am experimenting with things I'm not certain on, in the sense that I've written lots of unit tests before, but never with coroutines, which is what we're doing today. This is all about writing unit tests with coroutines, so we'll see how she goes. Anyways, I think we're going to need an object, and I'm going to create that object right away. So that object is going to be val. We'll just call it context provider. Now, so I would like to call it coroutine. Sorry, I'd like to call it context provider, but I'm actually going to give it a stupidly long name just so I don't confuse people reading this. So yeah, coroutine context provider. So the beginners are going to have some trouble here, but for those used to working in threading environments in RxJava, this essentially functions like a scheduler provider. So this is how we're going to be able to tell our different objects here what coroutine context to execute the code on. I'll get into that a little more when we actually write that class, if you're wondering. But it's analogous to like basically schedulers or different threads. So this is going to be of type interface. I know I get flack from people about using interfaces with schedulers and stuff, but I kind of like the way it works, so I'm going to do that for now. And we're going to call this, I'm going to give it a stupidly long name, not because I want to. If I was looking at this code myself, only I wouldn't call it this, but we're going to call this coroutine context provider. It's going to be an interface, and then I'm going to hit Alt-Enter, and it's not giving me the option to actually create that class, because I'm pretty sure it should be. How come you're not helping me out here? Okay, whatever. That's fine, I'll just create the damn thing. So this is going to be an interesting one. Where should this... This is an interesting... So I'm going to pause for a moment because I'm even curious. I'd be happy to hear feedback in this. So the class I'm about to make is going to be used across modules of the application. So there's two different ways I can handle this, kind of. There's actually more than two ways, but there's two reasonable ways to handle this. So I don't want three copies. I don't want a copy of this class in every single module. That would be just, you know, a waste of repetitious code. But I'm not, you know, if I were to put it in a specific module, then that could... It's not a big deal. Here's what I'm trying to figure out. Should I make a common module, which is something I've actually seen before? And then what would I put it in? I'd put coroutine context I could put extensions which might be used. I'm thinking out loud here, I'm not teaching. I could put extensions that are used in different modules. Do I need that? We're gonna get a little crazy here. We're gonna go crazy. I'm gonna create another module, and I'm gonna put this coroutine context provider in it. And the reason why, well, you'll see when I create the new module. So let's go to, I can't wait to just have my computer explode during the live stream. Let's go to project structure. I'm gonna hit the green plus sign, which opens up create a new module. And this ought to be a Java library converted into Kotlin, but I don't want this to be an Android library because Common might even be used by, will be used by non-Android code. So we're going to make this a Java lib, and it's going to be called Common. And the Java class is going to be whatever, man, because we don't actually need that. And it's going to Gradle sync. Cool. Okay, hopefully you can hear me again. So I just had to do a Gradle sync because I had to add a new module. And so I just need to configure this module really quickly. Let's just close error thing. Common. Build Gradle. Domain. So I'm basically just going to copy over what I have in domain into common, which is almost the same thing. And of course I'm going to have to sync again. Why not? And I need, so I'll need coroutine's core. I'm hoping that coroutine context, it should be a part of this repository. So it's telling me I need to do a Gradle sync again, so I'm just going to do another friggin' Gradle sync and we'll go from there. Okay, cool. So now that I've got that configured, does it have a source folder? It does, yay. It's got my whatever class, whatever, man. Okay, in common, let's do, I don't even really see a need to separate it into subfolders at this point, so I'm actually just going to go you know what, let's make a package called coroutines. Okay, and then we're gonna go, come on brain, you can do this, I believe in you. This is gonna be coroutine context provider. Okay, cool, great, good, awesome. So, what methods are you going to have? So we're going to have, what are the main, just give me a moment, I'm going to look up what the, I know UI is one of the main threads here. Sorry, I'm used to thinking in threads and schedulers, but actually I should say UI coroutine context, which is a different kettle of fish, which is a really weird saying in English. So right now I'm just looking at the Kotlin X coroutines guide. For those watching, if you want a really good resource to learn Kotlin coroutines, do check this repository out. It's by Kotlin, and this is the best explanation out there. They're not easy to figure out. You got to play with them for quite a while, but once you figure out what's going on, they're really cool. I was really blown away with coroutines once I understood how they actually work, to a degree. Okay, I'm looking at this stuff here. So what options do they give us for different coroutine contexts? I'm gonna have to figure out a shorter way to say that. Anything. I would have thought they would have covered this here. Okay, whatever. That's not really going to help. Okay. Oh. 2 seconds then. Almost there. What the hell? Okay, I got it. Cool. So we're going to say interface iCoroutine context provider. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have fun provide provide UI context. Here's the problem I'm running into already. Sorry, I'm in full cam mode here. The problem I'm running into already, and this is one criticism I have about coroutines in particular. So we have this term coroutine context, and that's totally fair. I understand what coroutine context means, and I'm not saying it's a bad name. The problem is now I have to deal with the fact that most people looking at this are going to assume I mean, for example, some kind of Android UI context, which isn't really a thing. So we'll see how that plays out, but that is kind of an annoying side effect of the naming conventions here. So provide UI context. So, and then we're going to say, what does that require? It's going to return an object of coroutine context, I think. Yeah, that's what it should be. Okay, and then we'll have fun provide, for now I'll call this background context. That might, again, I'm not certain on naming these things yet, but that'll also be coroutine context. Okay, so this is actually all we really need to get started. I don't actually have to create the concrete implementations of this interface because we can just mock them. So that's one of the main reasons why I love using interfaces for stuff like that. What we do need to do though is in order to test domain, it needs to reference common. So I'm going to open build.gradle. Let's do app. And this little, where's the line? Oh no. Come on, I just want to copy and paste this. I don't have to, oh, frig. Okay, whatever. Just give me one moment. I forgot the line of code that I need to write to reference another project in Gradle. Excuse me for one moment. Do I have it in Space Notes? There we go. See, this is my problem, is I'm horrible at remembering fine little details like how do I reference another project in Gradle, another module? If you're wondering, that's how you do it. That's the kind of stuff, if you don't do it all of the time, you just don't really remember. Okay, did I do this properly? Common references domain. That's not actually what I want to do. I want domain to reference common. So we go to domain, slap that in there, and that references common. So hypothetically, that means we should be able to reference the code within common in domain, and therefore I should be able to use this coroutine context provider thing wherever the hell I want. So I'm going to run one more Gradle sync and we'll see how that works. And I also, while that's happening, I'll just say to everyone, I'm just about to run a quick commercial break, so if you do have any questions, now would be the time to ask. Again, assuming you're asking an on-topic question. All right. So just a point of, Al mentions some testing trivia here. So Al mentions that unit tests isolate individual components. Integration tests check the interactions of multiple components. And Android instrumentation tests is an integration test that includes the Android runtime libraries. So I'm not saying any of that is wrong, but I actually... my understanding of Android instrumentation tests is that instrumentation is another word for device. And the description you mentioned here is that it could include the Android. My only point is, I believe under your definition, Al, you don't technically need a... I'm just trying to think, could you actually run an integration test in a JVM environment then? Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing the sharing that info. I thought when I read the Android guides, it seemed that instrumentation tests specifically meant executing tests on a device. Which could be inclusive of what you mentioned. So anyways, yeah, let's carry on. Okay, so let's hop back into our test class and we'll see if we can reference the coroutine context provider that I just created. So let's go to workout interactor test, and I want to see, can I say val context equals I coroutine? You're going to let me do it? Sweet. Okay, so that one's going to be mocked. I'm not sure if I've added Mockito, so that's something that's going to need to go in. Let's go to the app. Copy over my test implementation stuff here. Okay, I gotta run the Gradle sync again. Here we go. Good. So that should sort out mock. That's not where I want to write that. Let's go to the test class. There we go. All right, cool. So we got our mock working. And then I'll also need, what is the, got too many things open here. Okay, and workout interactor needs a workout repository. val repo equals I workout repository. There we go. So it's of course screaming at me because these are all vals and I haven't initiated them. So what we'll do is, let's say late init var actually. I think these need to be late init var. Certainly I'm pretty sure the mocks do. Let me just verify that in Kotlin MVP. Okay, this is another project of mine. That's not where I want to be. Here we go. Okay. And yes, mocks need to be late init var. Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check on that. All right, so we're going to need a setup method. So I think the annotation is at before, yes. And we say fun setup. So this is basically a method. So when you slap on this at before annotation, this will sort of execute before any of the unit tests, and you can use this to set up your mocks. So what we'll do is first off we say, excuse me, mockito annotations dot init mocks. This. So that should inflate these things properly. And then we create the real version of our interactor. So we say interactor equals interactor. That's workout interactor to be more specific. Why do I have 2 here? That's a little weird. Okay. Anyways, and then we pass in the repo and context. Okay. So we've got our setup class here. Okay. Now what I need to do is let's get one simple method kind of ready to fire here. So we have our workout interactor. Okay, so what's a good starter method to just kind of get started working here? What we're going to do I'll start with just get workout. So this is kind of how you can set up unit tests, how I like to set up unit tests, I should say, one method for it. So first we make a function which has the @test JUnit annotation. So this one's going to be fun on get workout by ID successful. So this is typically the naming convention I will adopt. Sometimes I change it depending on how I feel like, but you can basically write something like get workout by a successful. Basically the name of the test as a helpful little thing should basically describe what this particular unit is supposed to do in pretty simple English. That's the way I like to write tests. A lot of people get very cryptic with the code they write, and I really just don't understand why they do that, but you know, whatever. The main argument for writing illegible code is that it you save time because it just takes less time to write. But the problem with that argument is that if you end up having to spend more time relearning what different names mean, then you haven't actually saved any time, even though it takes maybe 1/5 of a second shorter for you to write the name of the method or something like that. So I'm not really sold on that argument, but anyways, I haven't actually heard anyone make that argument. So okay, so we've got our first test here. I'm actually gonna comment this out. I don't need to build more than one test right now. So what we're going to do is try and get our unit test working here properly. So I do have to apologize. I'm actually getting kind of a wicked headache right now, so I will try and carry on here, but I think I might have drank too much coffee because I don't get headaches very often, and I usually do when I'm really dehydrated. Okay, so what we're going to do is the method we call is interactor.getWorkout. So this is the unit we'd like to test. So I want to test this particular method here, function. So what I'm going to do is we're going to pass in the test data. So I'm going to write I'm going to create an instance of our test class here. So that's going to be val test equals, what did I call this thing? Domain test objects. Okay, so val test equals domain. Okay, this is just for a little moment, I have to gripe about this. This is something I hate about Android Studio, is when I open this thing, there's no way to just close the search panel. At least if there is, I haven't figured it out. So it forces you to open a class even when you don't want to, which wastes like an extra 3 seconds of my time. I was just... Thai Buddhist chronology? Huh. Oh, I get it. I accidentally opened a class in java.time. That's just a random, totally random occurrence. Domain test objects, here we go. And what do you need? I didn't think this domain test object required anything to be built. Should probably be an object too. Oh well. So what are you complaining about? Property getter, setter, oh duh, test equals. There we go. Okay, now I've got my little test artifact set up. So for example, when we want to pass in a workout, now we can say test, whoa. Test dot, we need an ID. Do I have any kind of a workout ID? I don't know if I do. So test. So we're going to add another test artifact here. I'm not actually sure if that's the appropriate usage of the term artifact, but we'll see. Test workout ID. And this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me just make sure that ID is string. Or did I make it a... So our unique ID is actually a creation date. So that's an interesting little detail. I'm actually going to note that here. I just need a unique ID, so that should suffice, and it is a string, so I think that'll work out okay, but it's just important to note little things like that. Test dot test creation date. Oh, so this is part of the, so this is what we're going to be kind of figuring out today. So notice how these are suspending functions. So that's kind of a coroutine thing, basically. So this is actually kind of what allows us to operate with coroutines in the back end. We basically wrap these various functions with the suspend what's the word I'm looking for? The suspend keyword. So basically what suspend does is, I wonder if I can even maybe decompile it here. Can I do that? Let's go to build tools rather. Show Kotlin bytecode. I'm not sure how well this will work, but I'll try and decompile it and we can have a look at what it does. So it should wrap these functions. Is this going to work for me? Let's see. So the continuation object is basically the, it's been a while since I looked at exactly that. Well, this isn't giving me as much hint as I hoped, but so the general principle of the suspend keyword is that it wraps the function, whatever function you're calling, in a coroutine essentially. And then a continuation is like a callback essentially. It's how you might fire the result of the function. So it's, you know, kind of an interesting little setup here, but I was hoping the source code might show us a little bit more, but evidently a lot of it's under the hood. Okay, so what the hell was I doing? Yeah, so I was just saying, since these are suspending functions, we need to do something a little bit different in our unit tests. So I believe how this works is we need to actually make these test functions run blocking. And this is where things are going to get a little interesting. So what I need to do is I need to mock, I'm just going to copy some code over because that's a lot quicker. Just give me one moment here. So we basically need to mock the response from iWorkout repository, and then we also need to mock the coroutine context provider to return a specific kind of coroutine context. So what we'll do is, this is to test RxJava, obviously. I just wanted the boilerplate here. So the first thing we need to mock is the, let's start with the context, I think. Why does that say coroutine context up there? Weird. Okay, context. Oh! Well, that's a surprise. Okay, are you for real? Why? Okay, I'll be honest, folks, I'm just confused. It says, so it's telling me that's deprecated. I'm so confused by that. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. I think it's just a bug. I'm gonna just... I'm just gonna clean the project and we'll see how that does, but why would that be deprecated there? That's really weird. Okay, I'm just gonna rebuild and we'll see if that fixes it, because that's just such a very bizarre thing to see. Weird. Of course, the project probably won't compile, but let's just go ahead and do that. Very weird. Oh, finally someone... Is it? Oh, I think I know what's going on. Did I do that? No, I didn't do that. What does it think I'm referring to here? Why? I don't see. This is blowing my mind. Why would it rename it? Is that for real? Did it seriously rename one of my variables? That's just bizarre. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I've never, ever in my 20 years of writing applications, I haven't actually been writing applications that long, but that blows me away. So I don't even know if that's actually this thing up here. I'm gonna name it something different. Let's just call it con. And are you telling me that you're gonna rename that too? Silly thing. Okay, there must just be some kind of conflicting property here. That's very weird. Huh. Yeah, I got no idea. Okay, whatever. Weird. Okay, we're just gonna move on and keep calm and carry on. But that was just very strange. I really have no explanation for what went on there. On the bright side of things, someone kindly mentioned that apparently if I hit Control, that's not what I wanted. If I hit Control N, you can hit Escape to close it. And you are correct. Thank you for telling me how to do that, because that's something that was pissing me off for a while. Thank you, Isaiah. Okay. So, yeah. So when con does that thing, okay, now I need to copy the friggin' code over again. Okay, dot, then return. And what do we want to return? So I am going to be returning which one? Okay, we'll see if I can do this properly. Coroutine. There's some, what is it, common? What is the thing that I actually get the coroutines out of? Coroutine coroutine context provider, is that it? Coroutine, I'm just trying to remember which library you actually get the coroutine dispatcher, maybe. Oh, let me just Google it. Okay, there will be a brief period of downtime here while I figure this crap out. So what is confined a property of? Yeah, this is gonna get interesting here. All right, well, you know what? We're just about done here. So if anyone has any questions, then please let me know. I'm gonna mess around for this for a little bit longer, but I gotta be honest, I think I'm actually getting a full-on migraine right now. So I'm gonna go chug some water and stop staring at a computer screen. But okay, so let me explain what I'm trying to do here, and we can pick this up once I'm able to get back to this. But basically the situation is, so I want to be able to, oh, this is con.provide, would it be background? It would be background, I think. I don't know, we'll see. This is going to get interesting here. This is unexplored territory. Oh, there we go. Okay, now that's working. The problem is I was just saying when con, but I needed to provide the actual method on the mock, which will be called. And then it should return this unconfined coroutine context. So unconfined is like schedulers.trampoline. It functions in a similar way. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use the UI context or anything like that. Anyways, so we're basically an hour in here, and we're, you know, made some good progress today. Would have been nice to actually get an actual unit test running, but I did all the fiddling around necessary, and that's basically it. So, yeah, I see there's no... Oh, I do have a question from Naline. What kind of tasks do I recommend using threads on? Let me riff on that for a moment, and then I'll call it a day. So, oh yeah, not feeling good right now. Holy crap. I didn't drink that much coffee this morning, like not more than usual. Okay, so the question is, and this is related, what kind of tasks do you recommend using threads on, apart from tasks that might freeze the main UI thread? So that is kind of the primary... The primary function... so the primary function of background threads, you might say, is for long-running operations. Long-running blocking operations. So this is really, this is the key here. So, long-running is important because Android OS will automatically kill your app if a process runs to, sorry, it won't automatically kill your app. It will ask the user if they want to kill the app if a process runs too long. And then it might actually, I don't know this, but I think it might even eventually just kill your application if the user doesn't respond to that. And the other thing is, so blocking. So this is a really important sort of little word to understand. So blocking basically means does it block the execution of other parts of the application? So, so operations which potentially block the main thread to any degree, this is where you will want to use threading. So the thing about it is, like, there's a next level of threading where, let's say you just want to be able to divide calculations and things like that to multiple cores or multiple processors or whatever. That's like the main use case of threading. If you don't have anything that's long running per se, which is rare, then you're probably okay to just keep everything synchronous. Anyways, I do apologize. I'm getting a pounding headache, so I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you next week. All right, peace out.